Hello students, welcome back to Mathfi's Java programming tutorials. In this video, I'll be explaining the Java tokens, which are variables and final variables. Let's see the contents: introduction, syntax of variables, that is declaration, initialization, assignment, multiple variable declaration, dynamic initialization. Now comes types of variables. The previous ones like syntax, if there is any error, the Java compiler suggests there is an error, please change. But coming on to types of variables, which is very important for the programmer's point of view. We know the variables, where to declare, how to declare, what type of variable to be declared for a particular occasion. This is all part of logic. So, the programmer should be very clear in understanding what are the types of variables and how to use them. There are three types of variables: member variables, parameters, and local variables. Apart from this, these are all can be declared as final variables. And then scope and lifetime of variables we will see. Let's start with the introduction. Now, a variable is the name given to a memory location to store a value, to retrieve a value. For example, our brain can store different values in different memory locations. It could be father's name, mother's name, name of himself or herself, class, section, anything. But whenever we ask a child, what is your father's name? Immediately he can recall from that memory location, retrieve, storing as well as retrieving. Similarly, computers are also made in such a way that we can store values in a particular memory location by giving a name. And whenever a programmer requires that value, he or she can retrieve the value. So, a variable is the name given to a memory location. Now, the variable names can be a collection of alphabets and numbers, which are meaningful to the context. Although programmers gives int A, int B, int X, easy to access. But when we create actual projects, we give meaningful names according to the context. And also, the name should follow the rules of identifiers. Identifiers means names, rules. We have seen that in the previous video. Now, whenever we want to declare a variable, declare, reserve space, the following points to be considered. First of all, we need to decide the data type as a programmer. Data type, very important. In case of name, it is a collection of characters, so we have to decide that it is a string. If we want to store decimal places, then it should be double or float. We have discussed data types. Now, after deciding the data type, we need to decide the name according to the context. Then decide whether to take input or store a known value. Then only declare. For example, we want to declare three variables. One is name of student, second one is his marks, and maximum marks for the subjects. Now, according to the guidelines, first of all, we need to decide the data type. Name of a student, collection of characters, more than one character. So, string is the data type. After that, decide the name. It could be name, st name, any name. But it should not be a keyword. All rules we should follow, identifier rules. Then, second variable, double marks. Why double? Because a student may get 98.5, 68.5. decimal value. So marks variable data type we decide as double. And marks M, any name we can give. Two variables we have seen. First one is name, that is student name, is string data type. Marks name with double data type. Now decide, the third point is decide whether to take input or store a known value. Whenever a student joins a college, we ask in the application form only name, address, all the details. And after he or she gives examination, then only marks will be entered. In that case also, the teachers will enter. So input, name and marks to be taken as input. Whereas maximum marks might be 180 anything. It is 100, let's suppose, then integer data type. And we don't know maximum marks are 100. We don't ask, okay, what is your maximum marks? Every student, what is your marks, your maximum marks? No, we know that. So some of the variables, the values will be taken as input. For some of them, as a programmer, we know, so we assign, store. Then the contents of a variable may be changed during the execution of the program. Variable can change. For example, we have declared a variable x. Int x is equal to 20. After 3-4 lines of code, we may store 30 in x. We don't declare again. Once it is declared, it is there already in the memory. So we can change the value. That is a variable means. Some variables we will not allow to change. We will discuss that. Then strongly typed languages. Java, C, C++ are known as strongly typed languages. Why? Because all the variables must be declared. Declared means reserve space in the memory by giving a proper data type and name. And also give some value before using them. Then only it will allow us to use. Maybe 0 or null. Null means nothing is there in a string. Some values should be there. Whereas the languages VB and Python are not strongly typed languages. As in when I can create without telling the data type, it is created as object and can take integer or string or any value. Now, syntax. First of all, let's see how to declare variables. Declaring means reserving space for a variable according to the data type. And all variable declarations should precede, variable name should precede with a data type, proper data type. Now, the data type specify the amount of memory to be allocated for a particular variable. Now, declaring is int x semicolon, byte b colon, semicolon. Any name we can give. Short s semicolon, long l semicolon. This is known as declaration. For example, the very first word, int is a data type, int x semicolon. Int is a data type and x is a variable. 4 bytes are reserved. Double y, float m. First variable double is a data type, y is a variable, 8 bytes are reserved. As a programmer, we may not remember or require to remember how many bytes, but a fair idea which data type is bigger than which one we should have as a programmer. Now, as a student, there might be a question how many bytes for integer, how many bytes for double, to test whether you understood the data type. what values can be stored in int. But once if we have the fair idea about what is character, one character, string, more than one character, such kind of things, then we may not actually remember how many bytes. Idea, long is bigger than int. For factorial, finding a factorial of a number, long is required. Byte short, we know calculations may not be performed because internally it converts into integer, promotes into integer. Only in integer we can store. So such kind of rules, if we have an idea, then we can declare variables according to our requirement. Then initialization assignment. Initialization means giving value to a variable at the time of declaration. Int x is declaration. At the time of it only, int x is equal to 10. We give the value. Double marks is declaration, but initialization and declaration can be done with the help of one statement. That is, double marks is equal to 98.5. This is initialization. Initial value we are giving. The second part is assignment. Giving value to a variable after the declaration is known as assignment. For example, we have declared a variable int y as a second statement or a third statement. After 3, 4, several statements, we may say y is equal to 20. We don't declare again. Y is already declared. We are just providing value. That is known as assignment. To either initialize or assign a value to a variable, assignment operator, that is equals to sign, is used. Then comes multiple variable declaration. Declaring or initializing more than one variable is possible if all those variables are belonging to the same data type. And this is done with the help of a comma separator. For example, string is a data type, but I want two variables. One is name, second one is address. So instead of writing string name semicolon, string address semicolon, we can write string name comma address, means two variables of string type. The second example, character, one character we can store. I need two variables. In the first variable, gender, I want to store either M or female, F. Grade is A. So two variables are declared as well as initialized with the help of a comma separator. Then int W, X, Y, Z, four variables of integer type. W is initialized, Y is initialized, but X and Z are declared. This way is also declaration, initialization of multiple variables is possible with the comma separator, but data type should be similar for all those variables. Then comes dynamic initialization. Assigning value to a variable at the time of execution or runtime is known as dynamic initialization. Initializing means giving a value at the beginning only. Dynamic. Value of one variable depends on the value of another variable, then it is known as dynamic initialization. For example, int x is equal to 25. This is initialization, declaring as well as initializing. This is done at the compilation time. But the second statement, int y, is equal to x minus 5. So we start running the program. X variable will be created in the memory, stores 25, and then the 25 is retrieved from X location and then minus 5. 25 minus 5 is 20, and that answer will be stored in Y during the execution, which is known as dynamic initialization. The second way is double Z equals to math.sqrt. Sqrt is a method which returns square root of whatever we send as a parameter. We are sending X over there. So 25 square root is 5, which is returned by the math.square root method during the execution. First of all, X is stored. Then that X value is retrieved. Then calculation, that square root, and then stores in Z. This is dynamic initialization. Now let's see the difference between initialization and dynamic initialization. Initialization means giving a value to a variable at the time of declaration, declaring as well as giving the value. This value is understood by the compiler. As soon as I declare, I have to store this much. For example, int a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3, comma separator. So at the compilation time only, the compiler understands 2 variables will be declared and 5 and 3 will be stored. Coming on to dynamic initialization, it means giving a value to a variable during the execution of the program. The value is stored at the runtime during execution. Example is int a is equal to 5, b is equal to 3. This is initialization. But the variable res, int res is equal to a plus b. So go get the contents of a, that is 5. Go get the contents of b, that is 3. Then perform arithmetic addition. Store the value in res. This is what is dynamic initialization. Now, types of variables. There are 3 types of variables: member variables, parameters, local variables. Member variables, again, 2 types: static, instance. So how many types of variables? Member variables, parameters, and local variables. Static, instance. Now, member variables. These variables are declared inside the class block, not in any method. Class block. Those 2 red colored variables in class library: string name, int number of books. Both of them are known as member variables. They are declared usually at the beginning, or they may be at the end or in between, but not inside any method. They represent the state of the object. For example, is TV on or off? If on, which channel is being watched? State. The member variables, again divided into static or class variables. Second one is instance variables. Look at the example: class library, static string library name, then string author, book name, int number of copies, double price. If we see author, book name, number of copies, price, these are separate for each book. Maybe number of copies, 3 books are available in the library. But if we don't consider number of copies, then each book has a different author, book name is different, and price may be different. But if you see string library name, all these books belong to some university library. That library name will be static, means for all the books which are present in the library, it is same. There is one stamp over there. Each book belongs to some university library. So, the names or numbers which do not change for each object or each book are known as static variables, but they might change for each book, then it is known as instance variable. If you see the differences, class variable or a static variable is available to the entire class. That means all the objects of a class, objects of a library are books. All the objects of a class have the same value, same library they belong, unless changed. We will see this with the help of a program. Now, instance variables. The values of instance variables are specific to each instance or object. Apart from library, if you take student, every student's name is different. Even if they are same, their age is different, their father is different. So every object is different and the values will be different. So if at all we want to store the different values for each object, then we declare instance variables. If we want the same name or number, then we declare as static variable. For example, static int max marks is equal to 100. For all the students, maximum marks is 100. And instance variable name is different, marks are different. So, string student name int marks are not static, they are instance. Instance variables do not have a static keyword, and the static variables have a keyword static. Let's see a Java program. Let's see the contents of TV member class. Class TV member variables we are discussing. These variables which are declared at the beginning, what are the static string company, int volume, channel. These three variables are known as member variables. One is static, two are instance. These variables are declared usually at the beginning of the class, in the class block. They can be declared control X and place in between two methods. That is also okay. Or they can be declared at the end, just before closing of class. But they should be declared inside the class. If they are declared inside the class block, then only they are known as member variables. These member variables can be accessed by any method which is defined in the same class. For example, void set volume is a method which is storing volume by taking a parameter. Int a is equal to, the user will give volume, some 20. The current volume will be stored as 20. So, this set volume method is using one member variable, instance variable volume. The second method, set channel, is accessing channel variable. Print method is accessing all three member variables, company, volume, and channel. So, the variables declared inside the class block can be used by any method. They are known as member variables. One is static, second one is instance, two types of member variables. Now let's understand control K, it does not give any error, so we can access them. Let's understand static and instance. There is one variable static int max marks, maximum marks. This is a class variable and string name subject. Two instance variables, name of the student and subjects he is opting for, let's assume, and marks. This is not a full-fledged program. Now these maximum marks, although it is a static and it is the same for all the objects, we may change. One or two changes is okay. Not like, unlike marks 1 to 99, we keep on changing. No. Depending on the subject is sciences, let's assume. Then there are practicals also, 20 marks. So maximum marks for theory exam would be 80. Otherwise, maximum marks for all other subjects is 100. This way we can change. Control K, it doesn't give any error. Static ones can have different values, but for all the objects it would be same. For example, if we take this TV member, Sony is permanent TV. Company is TV. When I execute new TV member and create an object member 1, then another member 2, third member 3, all of them, if I say print, it is saying Sony for all of them, current volume 0, current channel 0, because we haven't given any values, that is constructor. But if you go to void print of second object, it is saying Sony for this also. And third one also static for all the objects. It is having the same name. But whereas in the student static instance, depending on the subject, maximum marks are decided. Let's suppose subject is sciences I have stored, or user can give input. Decide marks, I'm calling this method. It is deciding sciences, then maximum marks is 80. So maximum marks is for science subjects is 80 is decided. 80 or 100 I can store in static. I can change depending on the requirement. Let's assume subject is CTS, computer science. Again, decide marks. It takes, okay, is the subject sciences? No. So maximum marks is 100. So maximum marks for other subjects is maximum marks 100. So first time it should display 80, second time it should display 100 when I call read marks. Okay, this is student static instance, and then okay, create an object, read marks. First time it is displaying 80, which is a static variable. Second time it is displaying 100. So as a programmer, this static variable can be used for all the objects, same value. But what type of conditions I should have to change the value of a static variable? Sometimes we can declare a variable which is not changed at all. Let's suppose Samsung company is making the objects, TV objects. It cannot display Sony or other XYZ company. It should display only Samsung. how do we make them final variables? So as a programmer, we should understand what is static, what is instance, what is final, what is parameter, and what is local variable. Let's go back to our PowerPoint slide and understand parameters and local variables. Parameters are the variables that are declared at the method header. Header means the very first line of any method is known as header. The last line, example, void read int a comma int b is the header, that line. And inside the curly braces, whatever you write is known as body of the method. So at the method header, if you declare any variable, then it is known as a parameter. Those parameters can be used in two different ways. One is to take input. Input can be taken using scanner class also. We will discuss this little later on. Or message passing. Message passing can be done between two methods or three methods is possible because of parameters. So parameters are the variables declared at the method header, and two possible uses. One is input or message passing. Then the third type is local variable. Local variables are declared inside any block, that is inside a method, not inside class. Inside class means member variables. Inside a method, inside if statement, inside a loop, which we will discuss all of them. Such kind of variables are known as local variables. Local variables are used by the programmer to display output, to store intermediate results, or to run a for loop, all these things with the help of local variables. For example, void read is there. Int y is a local variable, local to the method. For int I is equal to 1, this is local to that for statement. Local variables. Let's see a Java program here. Parameters as well as local variables. Let's see the contents of parameters class. Here two methods are there. Parameters means they are the variables declared at the method header. Two methods, read, find. Read method has two variables declared at the method header, A, B. These are parameters. User may give the input. Second one is find method. Another parameter is here int x. Now parameters can be used in the same method in which they are declared, unlike member variables. Member variables can be accessed from any method, but parameters in the same method. For example, system.out.println A in the same method, B they are declared in the same method, X is declared in the second method. But if I try to print X in read method, which is declared in find method, Control K gives an error. Undeclared variable X, because this is not a member variable. This is a parameter of find method. Similarly, A and B cannot be accessed in find method because A and B are parameters of read method. Control K, immediately it is showing two errors, undeclared variable A, undeclared variable B in find method. So parameters are variables declared at the method header and they can be used inside that method only. Control K, now no problems. Let's go back and see the contents of the class local variables. Local means local to a method. Void read. Parameters I did not give. Only inside the method, we've declared two variables, x and y, initialized also, 10 and 3. Then there is one if block inside the method. If x is equal to 10, checking, then declaring another variable z equals to 3. This is local to if block, declared inside the method or if block or for block for another variable int I is equal to 1. This is available to, this I is variable is available to for block only inside the block. Now let's see, if I display x, y and z inside if, this is the inner block of the outer block read method. There is one more rule. Outer block variables can be used in inner block, but inner blocks variables, that is z, cannot be used in outer block. If I display x is x, 10 will be displayed, y 3 will be displayed, z 3 will be displayed in the if block. Okay. In the for block, I can use x also, y also, I also, but not z, that is z variable. If I remove these comments and try to execute or compile, it says undeclared variable. Why? Because this z variable is declared inside the local of if block. Similarly, outside if and outside for loop, still the method contents are there. So I can access x and y. Control K, no errors. But if I try to print contents of I variable, which is local to for loop, gives an error. Control K, I is not found. This is inner block of void read. Similarly, we cannot access the contents of z, which is local to if block. So local means inside the method or if or for or any block. Now let's understand final variables. Final variables are declared with the keyword final. And final is a reserved word that can be used with a variable or a method or a class. In this video, we'll be understanding final variables. Now, the contents of final variables cannot be changed, and it is a read-only variable, read-only. Syntax is final, whatever data type you want, and the value. For example, final int hours in a day is 24. 24 hours in a day, we cannot change. So this is final variable. Similarly, that Sony company name for all the objects, final variable. It's not static, which can be changed. Then final int maximum marks is equal to 100. That means first to fifth class, no sciences are there. I want 100 marks or 50 marks, whatever it may be. Final cannot be changed. Value of pi variable 3.14, nobody can change. It is a constant. Final means constant, read only. Variable can be changed. In order to make a variable constant or read-only type, it should be declared with a final keyword, which we already know. Final variable is created and assigned with some value, then that some value cannot be changed throughout the program. It will have the same value, cannot be changed during the execution. If a member final variable is not initialized at the time of declaration, it can only be initialized in all the constructors. Constructors concept explain final variable further, but we will try to understand as a local variable how do we manage, as a member variable how do we manage, and as a parameter these final variables with the help of a Java program. Let's see the contents of a final class. Final keyword and final class. Class is starting with a capital final, so no clash. It's not a reserved word. Now, final string company is equal to Sony. At the time of declaration only we have stored. Or this is a member variable, that's why. Or we need to store in constructors. We will understand. Then read method is displaying company. But if I try to change the company to Samsung, Control K, it gives cannot assign a value to final variable company. We cannot change, read only. The second one, final variable can be a parameter. Once user gives a value, that would be final, we cannot change. For example, Control K, no errors so far, but if I write A is equal to 123 somewhere, Control K, it says final parameter. You cannot give another value. Then pi is 3.14. We can declare a final double pi, and first time I'm giving pi is 3.14. Then I cannot change. Control K, no errors so far. But if I try to change 3.15 or 1, Control K gives an error, variable have been assigned already. It's a final variable, cannot be changed. Had it been some other variable, not final, let's assume int x is 20. This is just a variable, not final variable. And I'm somewhere saying x is 30. This is simple variable. It allows us no error, but pi has error because it is a final variable. Control K, now no syntax errors. So ordinary variables can be, the contents can be changed, whereas final variables we cannot change. They are read only. Now let's go back to the presentation. Difference between a variable and a constant. Variable, the contents may change during the execution of the program. For example, int a is equal to 20, a is equal to 30, no error. Syntax is data type followed by variable name equals to some value. In case of constant or final or read-only variable, value of constant always remains fixed throughout the program. It is a read-only variable declared with the help of final keyword. Example, final int a is equal to 20. After that, a equals to 30. It does not accept, invalid. Error will be displayed. The syntax is final keyword followed by data type followed by variable equals to some value. Scope and lifetime, very important. Often programmers do mistakes without understanding scope and lifetime. Every variable we declare has some scope. Scope of a variable is the section of source code in which the variable is declared inside the block. It could be class block, it could be if block, it could be method block. Scope is only in that block. Lifetime specifies how long a variable is accessible in the memory. How long? And third important thing is outer blocks variables can be accessed by inner blocks, but inner blocks variables cannot be accessed by outer blocks. Let's understand in detail. Now, member variables, parameters, local variables. Scope and lifetime of member variables is entire class. The member variable is declared inside the class, outside the methods, we know that. Scope is entire class. Lifetime is as long as the object is in the memory. Let's understand this particular concept in the Java environment. Let's see the contents or revisit TV member class contents. Member variables are declared inside the class, outside the methods. These are the member variables which we have seen already. Scope is in the entire class. We can use in this method, set channel method, print method, set volume method. All the methods can use them. Lifetime is as long as the object is in the memory. So let's understand. We know volume is equal to A. In this particular set volume method, it is not giving any syntax errors. So scope is in the entire class, control K. But lifetime is as long as the object is in the memory. When we create an object, 3 methods will be visible to the object. And set volume, I can call set channel, I can call print, I can call all this time, all these methods are using these variables, member variables. So lifetime is as long as the object is in the memory. Let's execute this program and see. Right click and create an object. Object is created. 3 methods are visible. All 3 are accessing the member variables. So as long as the object is in the memory, the lifetime of member variables will be there. Let's call set volume first of all, and then I am setting the volume as 10. Done. Then set channel 256 is the channel. Okay. Now print method, also accessing all 3 member variables. Sony, company name, current volume 10, current channel 256. So as long as the object is in the memory, member variables can be accessed. So create such kind of variables which you need in most of the methods. Then let's see the contents of parameters and understand lifetime of parameters and scope. Parameters declared at the method header, that is int a, int b, int x, or parameters. Now scope is in the method only, which we have seen. X cannot be printed in read method because it is a parameter of find method. Similarly, a and b are parameters of read method. They cannot be accessed in find method. So scope is in the method only. Then lifetime is as long as the method is in the memory. If I am trying to execute read, then int a, int b will be declared. Once if the method is stopped execution, those variables are not there in the memory or cannot be accessible. Garbage collector will collect them, deallocate them. Similarly, when I right click on find method, execute the find method, then only int x is created and can be used in the same method. So lifetime is as long as the method is in the memory. Similarly, local variables, scope is inside the block. This Z variable scope is only in the if block. I variable only inside the for block. But X and Y is in the entire read method block till the end of this method. And similar to parameters, scope is lifetime is as long as the block is being executed. So void read block, X and Y are available to the entire read block. I can display X and Y just before leaving this particular program method. Lifetime of Z only in if block comes out, then int Z is not there in the memory, are not accessible. Similarly, I variable is not accessible outside the for loop. This is the scope and lifetime of member variables, parameters, and local variables. Refer chapter 3 of Basics in Computer Applications for further understanding and practice exercises. The next video is about Java tokens, that too operators. Thank you.